This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.
Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, not taking into account each person's individual needs. Noom is here to change that. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. One of the great things about Noom is that it's nourishing instead of restrictive. They focus on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs, or anything for that matter. Have cravings? Food FOMO? Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
Hello, you're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. Because it's more fun to believe. Hey everybody, thank you for listening to another experience of Me and Paranormal You. This is your buddy Ryan Singer. I'm excited today because I got the Crystal Queen. I got Amy Robeson here. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. We're going to talk about, and I never know how to say it. I always feel like I'm saying it wrong regardless of how I say it. Sometimes I'll say Akashic, sometimes I'll say Akashic Records. I think, hey, it's tomato. It's they're still delicious fruits, yeah, they are. Tomato is a fruit, right? Isn't that right? It is. So thanks for joining me today, Amy. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. And it's Akashic. So you had it right the second time. Yeah. Just think chick. Like that's how I always remember it. Chick.
Okay.
Even how to spell it, it has like chick in it too. So
okay. Gotcha. Well, there's a lot to talk about. I do want to touch a little bit about I think you have an interesting journey when it comes to getting into this world and, kind of like a transformation, from the hustle and the bustle into the, as I lovingly call it, the woo-woo world of like, spirituality and awakening and these things. So I don't want to spend like the whole episode talking about that, but I think it is interesting for people to understand that there is like this life that's kind of driven towards, a very specific goal, right? And, the productivity and, the quote unquote, the dream of making it and things like that. And then something just totally rattles you out of that cage. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. Like for me, I had a job that people would die to have. Like I had a very good career, and even people in my industry were like, why would you want to give that up? And I wasn't happy. Like I wasn't happy at all. And like, even when I got my big girl job, like it was only a 3-year plan, and I ended up staying for 10 years because like my heart knew that wasn't like the ultimate thing that I was going to do. And even when I like moved to be with my now husband, I moved from my hometown to Charleston, South Carolina. I cracked my tailbone for the second time in my life. And like when I transitioned, I was like, okay, I'm going to like find a different job and I'm going to do something different. And at that time I didn't know what I wanted to do because I was in a new city, and the plan that I had completely wasn't what I was following anymore, because I met my husband and we were dating and everything like that. But when I cracked my tailbone for the second time, and like I couldn't find comfort in the things that I used to do, I had to dig deeper, and I had to like listen to my intuition, because my intuition before, when I was in my darkest place, told me, hey, go try hot yoga. And this time it was like, you've been wanting to meditate, go learn how to meditate, go learn how to do dream interpretation, go learn how to do the things that you are wanting to do. And it wasn't ever this idea of like, I'm going to learn that and I'm going to do it as a living. It was go do this because you have a desire to do this and watch and see it unfold. And I'm a big believer in follow the energy that presents itself to you and listen to your intuition, follow your heart, because you're going to be guided down a path you never would have imagined. And it's 10 times better than your imagination could imagine. And for me, it's like the deeper I went into spirituality, into the woo, and like how you say it is like, I just felt like myself. Like I felt like I was home. I felt like I had something to lean on in my dark days. I had something to lean on when I was happy. I had something to lean on when I was curious or when I was confused. And it's just something that can't be taken away from you. You can be in a dark room by yourself. You can be in the darkest place by yourself, and it's never will leave your side because you have tools that can support you in finding your own light, even when you're in the darkest parts of your life.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And it sounds to me like you're talking about empowerment, which I'm a big proponent of. And, especially in the modern day world with, the nature of media and the fracturing of such and all the different messages and realities that can exist, in how most of them are fear-based. I feel like that is just, it's a cycle of disempowerment to make people feel helpless, like they can't do anything. Now they're helpless, and now they get scared, then they get angry, and then unfortunately sometimes will get violent, right? And I feel like in this world what we have are tools for empowerment, right? And
Yes.
and so when you say you can lean on something, I like how you say you can lean on it when you're happy or you're sad. Because I think we forget that, right? That we need these things even when things are going great.
Absolutely. Like one of the things that I love about the Akashic Records, and I'll explain what they are in just a second, is that the records know everything about you and want to support you in succeeding in this lifetime and all of the different purposes you have in this lifetime. And I love getting curious in the records about things. So maybe it's a topic that I want to explore. I love learning new things about myself because it's a self-discovery tool. And when you discover something new about yourself, you're either confused by that discovery, excited by that discovery, disenchanted by that discovery, whatever it is. Like you can have all these different arrays of emotions. But the cool thing is the guardians of your records are there to support you if you are not having the best experience with the information. And then they're even there for you when you are excited about the information, because sometimes when we get excited, we get blinders on where we can't see the full thing that's available to us because we get tunnel vision and we're like, I'm so excited, I'm going to just start running full force ahead. And they're like, but wait, you got all these other opportunities to make this even better. So slow down.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Every time I walk into an ice cream shop, I'm like, I'm getting a milkshake right now. I can't wait. And I haven't even tried the banana splits, or all the other ice cream options. I'm too excited. I get too focused. That I mean,
I
that's where
totally get it.
that's where my mind goes immediately. It is, I also want to, get into like the connection with crystals, because I had an interesting conversation with a philosopher, he's a college professor in philosophy, and he's starting to get into, his name's Jim Vernon. He's starting to get into like, he's an expert, I guess, in Hegel, and like this guy Georg Hegel, this old German philosopher. Anyway, but talking about like the representation of the inside matches the outside, right? And the crystalline energy, or the structure, the molecular structure of the crystals, can predict and will show what the world outside of the crystal will look like, at least for the crystal itself. And I feel like when we're talking about tapping into the Akashic Records, and specifically, tying in crystal energy and the work we can do with crystals, there's something, this thoughts become reality, right? And when we can tap into maybe the guardians of the Akashic Records, or spirit guides, and other things we can talk about here today as well, they're there to assist us, right, in trying to understand and give us a helping hand. And like you said, like put those breadcrumbs out for you to follow this life that can be scary.
Yes. And so I love crystalline energy. I've been around crystals my whole life. My mom's collected crystals since she was a kid. My grandma's collected crystals since she was a kid. Like, we just love crystals in my family. And one of the ways that I teach how people to access their records, we use crystalline energy to unlock them, because we are going from carbon-based being to crystalline beings, and the crystalline energy has been infusing into our earth for millions and millions and millions of years. Crystals themselves, so if we're talking about like a tangible crystal, I have one here on my desk. um a tangible crystal, I have a rose quartz sphere, right?
Oh, that's rad.
this is this has been pulled out of the earth. They sculpted it into a sphere, they polished it into a sphere. And so because it has this shape, it there's no beginning and there's no ending, because that's what the sphere represents. So depending on each particular crystal and each particular shape, they all have their own personalities, they have their own gifts and abilities. And most importantly, they have elements. And we have elements. We have all the elements that make up us into this human world, that also connects us to the spiritual world, that connects us with the crystalline world as well. And they don't have legs. They can't just walk away, but they're here and they've been infused with all sorts of magic, and they're little light beings that want to support us on our journey, and they all have different abilities. So if I had 3 rose quartz spheres, they all have the same element of water in them. They're all connected to the divinity of love, but I might be connected more to the first sphere and you might be connected more to the second sphere. Doesn't mean one's more powerful than the other. It's just those are our soulmate crystals, and those are little crystalline beings that they resonate with us, and they want to support us in supporting the greater good of all. And I think it's really neat because, like, just being on the computer, we're talking here over a platform across different, I don't know where you live, Ryan, but like we live across from each other. We're not in the same space, right? But there's crystals in our computers. There's crystals in all sorts of different technology that we use, and we are using it in such a way that transforms our lives and transforms the lives of many others. And we can tap into their spiritual knowledge and their spiritual database. The crystals is like a database, just like the Akashic Records is a database as well, because the Akashic Records is a field of infinite possibilities, and every word, deed, thought from the moment your soul is incepted is recorded in the Akash. And so we use the keys, I call those the crystals. We use the crystals as keys to open your records, to unlock what's there that wants to be revealed in that particular moment to help you on your journey. And the guardians are the ones that are sharing the information with you.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. I mean, I like the way that visually lays out as well. And I think anyone who's ever walked into a rock shop understands that certain crystals call to you. And
Absolutely.
they, like, I've got some shungite here on the desk. I'm actually visiting family. I'm in Ohio right now. It's snowing currently, which is beautiful, but too cold for me.
It's cold, but the silence is so beautiful.
It
When
really
it gets
is.
to snow, it's like there's this silence that we get to experience that's not, because life is noisy. Like, I think life is so noisy. And like there's something really beautiful. And I'm from Wisconsin originally, and so I hated the snow for so long. And now as an adult, and now that I've lived away from it for so long, and we live in Nashville now, and so we get like one snowfall, a good snowfall once a year, and then it's gone within a week. But like I appreciate it in a different way than when I lived it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, because I'm based out of Southern California and Los Angeles area now. So it's nice to see the snow for a couple days when I
Yeah.
visit, but then but it is very peaceful and serene out there. Um, well, I'm curious, because I think we all have these watershed moments as we slip and slide down into the world of, the strange, the unknown, or the fringe, or the outside the normal, or whatever we want to call it, and into the world of spirituality. And because every once in a while we need reinforcement, right?
Yes.
And no person can make an arduous journey alone. And I think you talk about a little bit about how a spiritual awakening is beautiful and it's wonderful and it's different for everybody, but it also can be kind of messy.
Oh, it's beyond
And
honesty.
so I'm curious about because there's moments where we feel potentially like, you know what, I don't know what I've been doing. I need to get back to where I was. Like, this is crazy that I'm doing this, right? So
Yep.
um I'm curious how many, or if you can think, if some of those moments come to mind where it's kind of like an all is lost moment in a movie at like minute 75.
Yeah.
When you're watching any movie and you're like, oh, everything hit the fan, it's all over. But then, something happens and saves the day.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like you start going down this rabbit hole of spirituality because you've awakened to something new and your reality is an illusion, and so your illusion reality is like starting to diminish and this new reality is starting to come forward. And what you once believed in, you're like, I'm questioning that. And then what happens is where people are like, but I just want to go back to where I was before. Like I want to hide under the covers. I want to pretend like I didn't unlock that door. And the problem is you can't. Once you unlock the door, once you open yourself up, you're doing yourself a disservice by hiding in your bedroom and underneath the covers because you know too much. And once you know too much, your life will never be the same. And so to me, there's this grand awakening that we have, right? Where it's like, this is the first time you are really realizing you're going through a dark night of the soul, and you're like, oh my gosh, that is awful. Like you're finally through it, and at the end, you're like, okay, that I understand that was the dark night of the soul. But once you have this grand awakening, then you have all these other awakenings all throughout your lifetime. And it's not just one and you're done, because once you know something, you're going to want to reach new levels of consciousness naturally if you're being curious and if you're wanting to grow and if you're wanting to evolve. And the thing is what do you want to spend your life thinking about? What do you want to spend your energy on? And do those things bring you joy or do they bring you heartache?
Oh
Because
gosh. That is, actually, I got to cut you off right there for a
Mhm.
second. I forgot to mention we have to stop a couple times to throw in for the commercial breaks,
Oh
but
yeah, no worries.
I want to stop and pause. And when we come back, I want to get back into this idea of what do you want to spend your life thinking about? I mean, just thinking about that is making this is a vein we have to tap, as they say. So we're going to be
Yes.
right back with Amy. We're going to be talking about all kinds of wonderful stuff. And just as a reminder, if you are a patron, patreon.com/Ryan Singer, $3 a month is, no commercials ever. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, we're going to be right back with Amy Robeson.
This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales Event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.
Okay, we're back. We have to talk about this. We have to dig deeper into this. What do you want to spend the rest of your life thinking about? I think what you've done, you've just crystallized for me why it is so important for people to follow their bliss and listen to their intuition. It is, I got the goosebumps thinking about this. I mean, it is, because this ties into everything that we're kind of talking about. Like, if your thoughts are your reality, so it's like, the chicken or the egg, right?
Ah,
Oh, okay. So before your grand awakening and, all the subsequent awakenings, you were thinking about work, right? And I mean, because you were working like what, 70 hours a week or something, if I'm
yep.
not
And it was
mistaken.
survival. Like, just how can I make the most money? How can I get myself out of this? And that's what consumed my thoughts. Is like, I didn't even know what I wanted to do, let alone like how I wanted to do it. But it was this constant thing that would badger at me is make money, survive, um, and do the best that you can do. And like I came from a family of you work your butt off. Like if you're not working, you are not productive. And so like for me, in college, I had one full-time job. I went to school full-time and I had 3 part-time jobs. So like I just was consumed all the time. And as I've left my career and then I've entered into this career, every year I let go more and more and more because I find that in the nothingness is the greatest peace that I can experience and the greatest inspiration that I can experience because there's so much inspiration that spirit wants to gift you, but you don't make space for it. I feel like you're constantly just being busy and worrying about other people, worrying about other stuff, worrying about just worrying in general, or fixating on things that don't really matter. Like I was talking to a friend the other day and she was like upset about something that she's going through. And I'm like, what does it matter? At the end of the day, what does it matter? Because it doesn't matter at all. And it's not to invalidate your feelings because it's so important to be validated sometimes. It's like, if you have this like mystery illness and all of a sudden you figure out like, oh, that's the problem. I feel validated now. It's not going against validation. It's just look at the whole picture and then ask yourself, do I want to spend my time worrying about this? Or at the end of the day, am I going to forget about this a year from now? Because most likely you're probably going to forget about it a year from now. And it's not even going to be in your realm of reality and you're not going to be thinking about it unless you want to think about it and you want to be consumed by it. Because to me, I don't want to think about stuff like that. I want to think about things that bring me joy and about living. Like we get to live this experience in such a grand way. And what's grand? You get to determine what grand is. And are those experiences? Is that having things? Is it the combination of both? Like for me, it's just like I love knowledge and I want to study different things and I want to be present for my daughter and I want to be a master at spirituality. Like I think spirituality is so fascinating. I think different modalities are so fascinating. And I think the mind is so fascinating. And so like for spirituality and the work that I do, I love psychology and I love the way the mind thinks and I love the way people react and understanding those things because they can all blend together. You can have many different things that you love to think about in some way, shape, or form. And this is the cool thing about the Akashic Records is they know how everything ties together and how everything blends together because you are the soul sum of your entire soul's journey. And you've been here probably many, 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 many lifetimes. And they take that into consideration when they're giving you advice, guidance. And they're also taking into consideration what your purposes are here on this lifetime and what you may be doing in the future as a soul. And it's just fascinating. Like it's a big thing to wrap your mind around sometimes, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, I just noticed how I love your sweater.
Oh, thanks.
For those people who are watching, for a second there, I almost thought they were like the colors of like the chakras. Anyway,
It's about.
it looks comfy and warm. I do love this idea too that it's we only have so much space in our mind to be thinking. We can only hold so many thoughts simultaneously.
Yes.
And are those thoughts bringing us joy? Are they the things that drive our happiness? Or are they things that are we in survival mode? Or are we in stack cheddar mode for like money? What does it matter? And it can be hard when we're caught up in it.
Yeah.
When we're in the middle of it, it can be difficult. And I think that's why it feels like meditation is for me, like meditation might be just, and it probably likely is just the key to everything when it comes to unlocking the power of our consciousness, right?
And it's free. Unless
Yes.
you're in a course, which I took a course, and I think like learning meditation can be really helpful, but it's free. It's available to you at any moment in time. And if you want to just take 10 conscious breaths, that can count as meditation. If you want to go for a walk and just take a moving meditation, that's meditation. Like, like artists, and it doesn't matter what type of art, you can be playing the guitar, or you could be painting, or you could be making a crystal grid, or You can be journaling. That is art. Like, we are here to create. What beauty do you want to create, and what brings you joy? And I do want to just like mention this. This is not spiritual bypassing as well, because we also want to acknowledge when we're sad, when we're angry, when we're frustrated, but we don't want to dwell in those experiences too long. We want to acknowledge what is going on, go through the grieving process, allow the grieving process to happen, but notice when you're in a trauma response, because sometimes people get caught up in negative thinking or negative reactions, or just constantly being angry because they maybe grew up in a household where everybody was angry, and you don't know any better to not be angry about the littlest, tiniest things. Where I remember a day, like I'll give you an example of this. Like, my husband like came home, and I was like, "What happened to your car?" And he goes, "Oh, some guy just hit, like, the traffic cone fell off his truck and it hit my car." He's like, "What are you gonna do about it?" And I just remember like looking at this man going, "One, I love you for your response, but my parents' response, my stepdad's response, he would have been angry and mad for weeks about that. And he would have been screaming and so upset, and everybody would have felt that wrath. And it's just a car. And yes, it sucks. It's totally not right that that just happened. The guy probably didn't notice, or maybe he did notice. Whatever, you just got to make peace with what that is. And that's why you have insurance."
Yeah, exactly. And that is a great response. And, and whatever, even if I feel like sometimes fake it until you make it on some of this stuff, when it especially comes to road rage for people. I just
Yes.
pretend everyone's getting ready to, poop their
You live
pants
in
when they're,
LA.
yeah. So if someone's driving like a maniac, I just assume they're getting ready to poop their pants and they need a bathroom.
Yes.
And that is why. And so I always just say, good luck. I hope you find it. I hope you get there, buddy. But it's interesting that we can have these tools, right? And we can know them intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
And because I want to get into, and maybe we'll do it later. There's just too much to talk about. But we have to figure out the entire universe in the next 25 minutes, Amy. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, but
We'll have to
um,
do another show.
yeah, because I love the idea too of incorporating this all together when it comes to, you know, like manifestation as well. And because manifestation is a word that a lot of people, a lot of more people are awakening to their spiritual journey,
Yeah.
especially since the beginning of COVID and lockdown. And I think manifestation can take many different forms. And I think a lot of people hear the word and it's this big nebulous idea that has no definition at all to it.
Right.
When it comes to the practicality and like the nuts and bolts of actually doing manifestation. And that ties into crystalline energy, unlocking the Akashic Records, right? And in working with the guides. Like it's all connected. Is that fair to say?
Everything's connected. And like, for me, we're manifesting things all the time, knowingly or unknowingly. So sometimes people are like, "I really want a brand new car." And so they have this tangible manifestation of something that they want, and they may be working towards it. It may take a month, or it may take years to manifest the car that you're looking for, depending on your personality and your budget and everything else. Um, and then there's things that you may tell the universe, "I want this." And they show up unexpectedly when you're not paying attention, and then you don't even notice that they're there. Or you might tell the universe, "I want this," and the universe just blesses it with you very quickly because you let go of any attachment to it. And you're like, "Oh, great, like I'm so grateful for this." But then sometimes it's like, "I want this," and you think of every possible thing that could go wrong, why you don't deserve it, you worry about getting it, you worry if you're good enough for it, whatever the worries are, and then you repel it from you. So we're manifesting things, we're attracting things into our life because we're working with all the spiritual laws at all times, knowingly or unknowingly. And we're tapping into the infinite possibilities that the universe has for us at all times. And depending on our thoughts, our words, our deeds, our actions, and how we're processing our emotions determines if we are at lightning speed manifesting something, or if we're moving as slow as a snail getting what we want. Sometimes things take a lot longer to get versus sometimes things like happen in a jiffy. Just depends on what it is, but it depends on your energy, and it depends on your energy signature, and it depends on what you're doing in order to openly receive those things, or unconsciously and sometimes consciously repel those things from you. Because every decision you make, you are determining, knowingly or unknowingly, if you're going to get the things that you want or not. And sometimes you're making decisions based on old programming that don't serve your highest good. So you're repelling the things that you want. And so you got to readjust your energy, your vibration, so that you can start seeing or sensing or tuning into a newer frequency, a newer thought, a newer words, so that you can attract those things. And the thing about the records is they assist you in seeing different perspectives. They assist you in thinking differently about yourself. They assist you in showing up differently for yourself and feeling more worthy to actually receive the things that you're in alignment to receiving. You just got to get out of your own way.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you can't be putting something on the shelf if your stockroom is already filled up with garbage.
Exactly. You gotta make space for it.
Yeah, you got to make space for it. Wow. Okay. And so, I mean, I love this idea too of, recognizing when the thing has actually arrived. And maybe we'll talk, we're going to take another quick little break, and we're going to talk more about actually being able to recognize when the manifestation has happened and not just ignoring it or not recognizing it, with Amy when we come right back.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive, versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit bmwusa.com for details.
Okay, so we're back, and I wonder now, God, and now I'm just, I'm racking my brain to try to understand how many times have I totally ignored and or not recognized a manifestation that I've tried to make. And I feel like it's an embarrassingly high number. Probably.
We're all guilty of it, like all of us. So it's like we have to think about dopamine for a second. Dopamine is our reward center. So it's like we buy something on Amazon, dopamine hit. Even if we don't buy it on Amazon, we just put it in our cart, we get a dopamine hit. Well, dopamine is always looking for a bigger hit. So the problem is like we have a goal and we're like, okay, I'm going to get this goal. I'm going to get this goal. I'm going to get this goal. And then you get it. Well, the anticipation of the goal, you have a bigger surge of dopamine than when you actually receive the goal. And so oftentimes people overlook let me pause and sit in absolute gratitude for this thing. But your brain instead goes, what's the next thing? Where can I get my next hit? And it sounds like because as just our population, our world population, we are dopamine addicts, and like we are constantly looking for the next hit. And by actually slowing down and moving into the universal law of gratitude, when we get into gratitude, we raise our frequency, we raise our vibration, and it only takes a minute to sit in gratitude and go, I am so grateful for this thing. I am so happy and so delighted. And what it does is it starts allowing different chemicals in the brain to respond differently instead of looking for the next dopamine hit. Because we're all addicted to phones and screens and all sorts of different things. And it's a problem. But if you slow down and you go, okay, I'm going to actually practice gratitude and celebrate, because we in the United States, I feel like we have an identity crisis as a culture, as a nation, because we don't have certain cultural norms and ceremonies and rites of passages and things like that. And so one of the things that you can start doing is determining what are your ways of celebrating, what are your ways of expressing gratitude, what are your ways of expressing different rituals that allow you to get into a state of gratitude and appreciation. Because gratitude is one of the quickest, there's two ways to really raise your frequency, and when you raise your frequency, you attract more things into your life: gratitude and chanting and singing. Those are two ways to like really raise your frequency and raise your energy signature. And so if you're wanting to have a different experience, you have to allow these things to be in your life and to actually make space for them. And so one of the things that we do, like in my company, is like anytime we do certain launches, when we have our really big launches, like as a team, we celebrate that launch because we just worked our butt off. Like, we're so grateful. Doesn't matter if we hit our numbers or we didn't hit our numbers. Like, it was a big endeavor to have that massive undertaking. And then like on my own, throughout whatever it is that I'm doing, like it could be as simple as finding a new pair of shoes that I've been on the hunt for. Like, I'm so grateful I got these new pair of shoes. And like, yes, it's a tangible object, but it's like, if I've been searching for that thing for so long, like I can express gratitude. Also, like tea or cacao or food. Like anytime you have food, you should bless your food, because like there has been studies that have shown that, have you heard about the rice experiment?
I'm not sure I know about the rice experiment.
So similar to water. So their classroom, they take rice, they take 2 jars of rice. 1 jar of rice, they yell at it, they tell them they hate it, they don't like it, they don't appreciate it. And then another jar of rice, and this is cooked rice, that we appreciate you, we love you, thank you.
Okay, so it's just like the water experiment.
It's exactly like the water, but the cool thing is you can actually see the results. So with the results, the rice that they got yelled at starts turning moldy, and the rice that it's expressed gratitude doesn't.
Oh, wow. I mean, I guess it makes sense because water's in everything. And
It's in our bodies.
yeah, so it's like, when we hate ourselves and we have these negative inner thought cycles, basically that's what we're doing. We're physically affecting ourselves. That is fascinating. That I didn't know about the rice thing, because I do have I forget what the name of the book is called. What is it called? The Miracle of Water.
Yes, with I forget how to say his name, but that is
Emoto. It's
yes.
Masamuro Emoto.
Yes. And I love that book because you can see what rage music does and what appreciation and what gratitude, what love looks like, what gratitude looks like. And that's all words that go into our body. And we have so much water in our body and our blood and all that stuff. And so it changes our frequency just by what we're saying to ourselves or what we're saying out loud.
So if someone wants to you want to get in the groove and you want to set yourself up for success on a specific meditation. Maybe start off with a gratitude session, mm-hmm. and maybe do some singing and chanting. It's interesting because, I mean, there's clearly something to that with the chanting and the singing. Yeah. And there's something called resonant tuning that the Gateway or the Monroe Institute does in their Gateway meditations, where you do a breathing and then on the way out, on the exhale, you do a hum or a song. Mm-hmm. And if you hit the right tone, or at least for me, and maybe it's different for everybody, but you feel this like vibration in your body, and it's almost like a tickle that's happening. And that's when like you're getting tuned up. But okay, so when it comes to tapping into the records, we maybe find a crystal we're drawn to that speaks to us. We get into a state where we're open to connection with maybe spirit guides or, the guardians of the records, or what would you call them? The guardians, or
the guardians are the masters, teachers, loved ones. So it just depends on what resonates with you more. I interchange them. Like like I just interchange them depending on what I'm talking. So if someone wants to tune in, we have a free meditation that people can just journey into the records and get a message from the guardians. And then there's the thing about the records is there's false records and there's real records. And so you want to make sure you're trained properly. And there's many different teachers out there. There's many different modalities. We teach the Akashic Records through my program called Sacred Awakening. But I'm not everybody's cup of tea, or the method might not resonate. And so you want to find a teacher or book that allows you to get into the records that are authentic records, because there's many false light things out there. And so you want to make sure that you're tuning into something that is truly authentic. And so in terms of like going into the records, when you go in there, you want to ask, or you want to just sit and receive. So you can either sit and receive and just like, love on me. Like I'll tell my students, just, you don't know what to ask, or you're just having a bad day. Like they don't care if you're showing up perfect. Like they want you to show up just the way you are, because they're there to support you. They know you're having a human experience, and being human is messy. And so you just go in there and they'll love on you and they'll appreciate you and they'll take you on journeys. Or you can go in there and you can ask a bunch of questions. Like I like doing both. So it's like, hey, I'm having a bad day. Like, what would be something that I can do right now that can shift me out of this mood? Or, hey, I'm having a character building day. I'm really upset about this. Offer me an alternative perspective so I can see something from a different way of navigating this. Or like, let's say you have a challenging conversation with someone. It's like, hey, I don't appreciate the way they treated me. One, why am I having a hard time processing this? Two, can you offer me an alternative perspective? Three, can you also assist me on how to navigate having a conversation with this person so I have better boundaries with them? And so they're there to support you. And then the cool thing too is because we're talking about, there's things that you can learn, but there's also things where you could just go, hey, what would serve my highest good for us to talk about today? And they'll take you on the most strangest journey that you did not even think about. You're like, that wasn't even in my imagination, but this is so cool.
I mean, I love the imagery of it. Because to me, it's like you're walking into like, the library of the universe, right?
Yes.
And that can be daunting for people to be like, well, where do I even, look around, and it's, you have to learn how to use the Dewey Decimal System or the search catalog at the library, just like you would have to do at your local library, I suppose. Right. And
yes.
And also with this false light stuff, it's interesting. What popped into my head was like, when you, that kind of classic image of, walking around New York City streets and there's a guy with like a trench coat on selling fake Rolexes. And he's like, oh, you want a Rolex? And it's like inside his coat, his trench coat, there's a bunch of like fake Rolexes. I'm curious if so the crystals are kind of a key, right? Like you mentioned.
There's many methods. So that's just my method. So there's many different teachers out there that teach the records different ways. And you just got to see what way resonates with you. Like most of my people, like either they're new to crystals and they're like, I don't know anything about this, but the way that you're talking about it resonates with me and I want to learn it. Or they're very into crystals and they're like, ooh, this sounds just the way that I want it. But then there's other teachers out there that teach it many different ways. There's a woman named Debbie Solaris, and the way she uses the records is she teaches they're called the Galactic Records, and she teaches galactic history with the Akashic Records. And so very different. We're talking about the same thing, but we're approaching it very differently. Is one better than the other? It just depends on what you're wanting to do with the records and how they are resonating with you. And I think it's fantastic because the more people that go in, there's all these different openings that allow the records to expand and to evolve, because the records aren't static. Just like we're not static. We're not fixed in time. Like we are evolving and we are moving, and the records evolve with us. And the more people that go go in, the more that the veil is starting to thin, the more information people are starting to receive. And it's just a really cool thing to witness. I've been teaching the Akashic Records now for 9 years. And I learn something new every single time I teach the course. And I learned something that I'm just like, wow. Or I learned like, hey, this is the way that we used to do things. And now this is the way we're going to do them moving forward until it evolves again, because things start to change. Like, and I'll give you an example. What I mean by that is, they're called the guardians, also known as the masters, teachers, and loved ones. Not every single person's loved one is a guardian of the records. However, with that being said, for many years, there were not a lot of loved ones coming through that were guardians. Like, a lot of people just wanted their loved ones to come through, and they would come through every once in a while. But over the last maybe 3 or 4 years, we have more ancestors showing up during sessions, and they're not guardians, they're just ancestors that really want to get messages out to people to let them know, like, hey, this is where the lineage is stuck. This is where I may have messed up. This is where your great, 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 great grandfather may have messed up. But we want the lineage to change, and you are a part of that change. Help. I want to help you, and we want your help as well. And so it's really neat, because over the last 3 or 4 years, like, we'll just open the records and they're like, grandma's there, or whoever it is. And it's insane. And I was speaking at, maybe you've been to it, the Conscious Life Expo in LA.
Yeah, I've been out there.
And so I was speaking there in February this year, and I did a talk about the ancestors and the Akashic Records. And it was like, before I prepared to do, I took everybody into the Akashic Records, and we connected with the ancestors, all this stuff. And I was preparing before I gave the talk, and I was like talking to the ancestors, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of ancestors that just showed up. And I'm just like, this is the most I've ever seen. Like, this is overwhelming, and not overwhelming in a good way. Like, I'm just like, and I got goosebumps everywhere right now. It's like, they just want to help. They want the lineage to change, and because the veil is so thin, they have opportunities now to get in, because there's so many more people doing the work, and the veil is much more thinner now. So people that were interested in doing the work but had a harder time connecting now can connect way easier than they could back in the 90s or even early 2000s.
Wow. I mean, that's cool. I mean, what are the exact dates of the expo this year?
Oh, they are, and I'll be there again this year, and I'm super excited about it. So, the dates this year are, February 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Okay. I think I might be in Los Angeles at that time, so I might have to come.
Well, come see me.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I love this idea too of and it's never really occurred to me until you said it, but, we're going to talk about the thinning veil a little bit more. This is going to be our last little commercial break. So don't forget to pop on over to the Patreon page. There's free stuff over there. For example, I just posted an article from the Stephen Greer Discord about a possible, what it seems like a likely explanation for all the drones that are happening. Spoiler alert, it's probably Space Force. So, go check that out. That's free for the public. You don't even have to be a free member to be able to read that, because that's information everybody should have. So we're going to be right back after this last break.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit bmwusa.com for details.
Okay, so it occurs to me as you're saying this, Amy, that the thinning veil, and this has been something that those of us who have been involved in this world have heard about for, I don't know, at least the last 10 years now. And, the veil is getting thinner, or something happening and the veil is becoming thinner. I think it could be a conjunction of a lot of events, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me. The more people who are doing work actively contributes to the thinning of the veil. Is that accurate?
That and it's also like consciousness. Like so for example, like I started openly speaking light language in 2018. Back then there wasn't that many people speaking it. Now there's tons of people that speak it, and you can go Google it and do all this stuff. But it was like, because you have some brave souls that are like, hey, let me do this. And then people get, oh, what's that? And then there's more people that are like, oh, I learned this thing. Let me talk to you about this thing. And we have, what is it? The Gen Zers and Gen Alpha, like they're open to all these crazy things that most people who pod them a long time ago. And so we go through all these general cycles, right? Where people are more open to stuff and we are way more connected. I think the connection is also the big part of it too. And I remember one of my first teachers, she's like, we're going to be able to talk to galactic beings. And this woman was in her 70s when she shared this with me. And she goes, we are going to be able to talk to galactic beings on our computer. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, really? And I'm like, and then as it's happening, I'm like, oh, that is not crazy. It is really neat. And it's because of our technology. And
and I love that there's crystals. I mean, there's quartz in everything, and there's, I mean, it's the most abundant resource, the most abundant natural resource on the planet is, as far as minerals go, it's quartz. And it's just such a beautiful, I mean, I'll never get tired of talking about crystals and quartz and stuff. But okay, so let's bring this home here. Now, I love this idea of being able, people need spiritual resources. And as we're all hopefully on a path to trying to get better and be better, and I guess equally as important, do better to make the changes we want to see in the world, when a lot of people, especially right now in this country, can feel disempowered because of things that seemingly are beyond their control. I think it's more important than ever to try to focus on the internal stoking of a light, right? To keep your inner bonfire of good. Make sure you keep throwing logs on there, and don't let that fire transform into a rage fire. But if someone needs to, and you've got free resources also available on your website, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go. We have 20 plus free healings. That's called Sacred Gifts. That's our we have like tons of healings on there, and they're all done through the Akashic Records. Some have light language, some don't. And you could just go to theamyrobeson.com/free. That's TheAmyRobeson.com/free. Make sure you put the in it. Otherwise you'll get a realtor page. And then we also have like free events that we do. So like I'm doing a free winter solstice healing, and then I'm constantly doing something that either like we got our Soul Evolution Masterclass Series extravaganza that we have coming up in February, where it's a 10-day journey. It's absolutely free, where we go in and we go through the Akashic Records, and we do ancestral healings, and we do a money clearing. So I always have stuff available for people, and we have our podcast as well, which is Awakening with Amy Robeson.
Cool. And it looks like it looks like you're putting out stuff pretty regularly. I mean, yes. I'm looking at the Awakening page right now. And you're also doing a live stream as soon as we jump off this chat on your YouTube, yes. Right?
Yeah.
What's the YouTube handle? Sorry, I had it up, but I have this other page up right now. Is it
Amy Robeson?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so, AMYROBESON.
Okay, cool. And I'll link all of that, of course, for everybody in the show notes, just so it's an easy click over for people. But if you had to, this is I guess kind of a big question, but I'd be interested to know your perspective on it. If you had to characterize the journey of like the quote unquote spiritual awakening or thinning the veil that's been happening, and where it's headed, maybe in the next, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
How would you characterize that, or where do you think because it's interesting, because things go from, and it seems that things go from mocked to monetized, especially like under capitalism, right? And you can see it on all the TV commercials now that are spoofing and meditation and chanting and things like that. They're all over the place now, where they're basically making fun of it, but just to sell insurance or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like some of these even more specific, I mean, Bigfoot's been in jerky commercials for years now, right? Aliens and ghosts and things. So I feel like when it comes to like the records and some of this other stuff, I mean, we are maybe a year or two away from those being into like the mainstream consciousness even, right? Where do you think it transcends the from being mocked to monetized to actually being something integral in people's lives?
I think that we are very close to scientific proof and evidence that the Akashic Records exist. So the cool thing is there's more spirituality practices that are actually being scientifically recognized as truth and factual. And so I think that the more our technology advances, the more that we're going to have science back up things that spiritual healers and channelers have been saying for eons. And it's going to be such a glorious thing to see and to witness. And I think that we will definitely get to see it in our lifetime. We just entered the age of Aquarius. And so there's this 30-year period that we are going to go through where we get to choose to look at what is our authenticity. And what is not authentic to me, I have to actually acknowledge. I have to acknowledge that shadow. I have to let go of that shadow. So we're going to have many deaths in order to be our glorious whole self and truly stand in our power in such a beautiful, humble way. But we have to do the work. And the people that don't want to do the work, that's fine. You don't have to do the work. No one's going to make you do the work. But that's also the key to the people that do want to do the work. You have to do the work. You can't just sit there and play victim. And I think that there is some honest truth that people have to have with themselves when they do play victim, because sometimes that is a trauma response. Sometimes that's a very learned behavior. And we live in a society where like people are constantly gossiping and looking for the big shock and awe. And I think more shock and awe is going to go away, and more authentic expression of things are going to be more appreciated, because there's so much fake stuff. Like we have so many fake stuff, so many skits, so many things where it's like, what do I want that consuming my mind? And if I do, like, for how much? Because it's okay if it's in small doses, but do you want that consuming your life? Because the way you spend your time is ultimately the way that your life's going to turn out. And like you and I grew up in an era where internet wasn't a big thing. Social media definitely wasn't a thing. And nobody had cell phones. Like massive amount of people didn't have cell phones, where, you just waited for the person to call you back. You called on the phone. If they weren't there, you just waited. Right. And so this, I think that people are going to start honoring their time more and having stricter boundaries of what they're wasting their time on if they choose to do it. There are going to be a percentage of the population that chooses to not evolve, and it's sad, but that's their choice.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that resonates. And the work it's not easy, and sometimes it's not fun. Those are the things that those are the big things that you hear a lot when when people are being authentic about the process. And as someone who makes their career doing stand-up comedy, when I'm not doing this podcast, I understand the value of entertainment. But when entertainment becomes total reality, it's like, whoa. I mean, that's even for someone like me, that's too much. I mean, I want people to consume my material, right? And I want them to be entertained by me and, bring them joy and laughter. But But I think, yeah, we are in a spot where it has become, because of the easy access with streaming and all this other, and social media and all this other stuff, you can live in a total world of entertainment.
Absolutely.
And it's not real. There's no real world happening there if that's what we choose. But
And they call it programming for a reason. It programs your brain because your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and fiction. And so we got to choose carefully.
yeah, we definitely have to choose carefully. Well, this has been great. And I appreciate you jumping on the show today. Just as a reminder, people can go to theamyrobeson.com. There's all the links there for all the things. It's a portal where you can go into many different ways. There's all kinds of really great free content. We didn't even get into DNA activation or animal spirit guides. We didn't get into any of that stuff, but maybe sometime in the future we'll revisit this chat and pick up where we left off. Any final words you want to leave with the listeners today?
Well, first off, thanks for having me. And anybody that's like, ooh, what are the records? The records start to speak to people when they're ready. And so follow your inner guidance, your inner compass. But most importantly, we have a brand new year and you get to decide to hit the reset button. If life isn't going the way you want, decide what you want it to be, what you want it to look like, and start taking the baby steps towards each and every day, making that your reality because you deserve to have it.
I love that. Yeah, you don't have to Jerry Maguire your life to make a change, right? You don't have to. Who's coming? I mean,
sometimes that's invigorating, though.
Yeah, sometimes that is invigorating, but that's not the only way to do it. You can do baby steps. Take control of what you're thinking about every day for the rest of your life. I think that to me is a really big takeaway from the chat today. Like, what do you want to think about for the rest of your life? And it should be what you want to think about. I think that's the message here for people today. Well, thanks again, Amy. This was great. And I look forward to a future chat.
This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales Event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.